It's like a sharknado, except with poop.
This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerated. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Had the best words. God bless the United States.
There's insanity in the control room.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
How you like that, boy? You idiot.
Who's got a hammer?
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. It is Wednesday. No, it's Tuesday. Sorry, I am losing track of the days already because I had a 4-day weekend. Although it wasn't all good. Of course, on Friday I was dealing with some GI issues. Of course, I get so a lot of you probably don't know or might not know. I get sick sometimes. I know. I get sick sometimes because I have a stomach issue, which sucks because it makes it so that I can't do the show when I want to. Nonetheless, I feel better today. I'm here, and we got a show. Hopefully, everybody had a good weekend as well. Extended weekend for sure. I actually was playing. So I was doing two different things. For one, I was doing a massive spree cleaning of the house. And then secondly, when I wasn't doing that, I was doing a Mass Effect. So I was doing going and playing through the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. And so, look, okay, so I'm one of those assholes that started with Mass Effect 2. Okay? And so that's when I started. I never played the first one. So going from 2, and by the way, I played both 2, 3, and Andromeda. But I never played 1. So going back to 1, even with the remaster, at first, oh, it's rough. I mean, when you start out back at the first one, and by the way, I actually thoroughly enjoyed the first one. But for the first couple of hours, it was real rough. Okay? The Mako missions especially. But like, you start going and you start getting into the, into the characters and development in the first game. And it is worth it. There's a payoff. So, definitely don't skip 1, even though the gameplay itself is oof, right? It's definitely worth it for the characters, for the story. It's overall good. And so I'm done with 1. I hopped into 2, and of course imported the character. And what do you know? You get a gigantic money and resource bonus, as well as a Paragon, or if you play as a Renegade, you get that bonus. That's real nice carrying over into the second game. So yeah, that was kind of my weekend. In fact, I really did a lot of spring cleaning to get ready for one of my rooms to get rewired. So brought up to standards. So a lot of stuff. What class was I? I was I believe, Vanguard? Was that it? The up close shotgun / biotic warrior. So, yeah, that was fun because I do like the shotgun and I do like the pistol and getting close and yet using biotic powers. It's a little bit different in 2, but still good. So, yeah. Adept is also fun. I wanted to pick Soldier originally, but like, I mean, I always kind of play Soldier. So this time I went with Vanguard because there are some fun, interesting powers. But anyway, yes, that's what I did this weekend. Hopefully, again, y'all had fun. I know some of you in the hot tubbing and watch movies. Yeah, it's great, fantastic. By the way, speaking of video games, there is a point to this other than my nice weekend. I also will be playing this Thursday on Mike Figueredo's Twitch stream. So Mike and I will be hanging out together and we'll be playing some video games on Thursday night. So that's it, Thursday, I believe, 10 p.m. Eastern. So that's 7 p.m. PST for those of you on the West Coast. So that should be fun. I'm looking forward to that. Of hanging up with Mike Figueredo and having some, conversations again about politics and about video gaming. So it should be a lot of fun. That said, announcements. I know, gaming with Mike. Yeah, we've been trying to kind of plan things out for a while now, and doing more stream stuff and hanging out with more progressives than I normally do. So it should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. All right. With that out of the way, we're going to talk about some stuff today. We've got the start of Pride Week, fun stuff that happened over the weekend. We've got a MAGA rioter that really wants to get his socialism. Yeah, that's what he wants out of jail. We got Ken Klippenstein versus the right wing. Hilarious. We have, of course, a survey about QAnon. And then Democrats. Are they going to stop talking about Trump and start talking about policy for the midterms? Interesting discussion happening in the Democratic Party. I'll read you the article and give you my take. We'll see what happens. All right. That said, let's get started. Before we do, please like and share. Very important. You do. Helps out greatly. Where the hell is Venmo trending? Weird. Okay. Anyway. Let's do it. It's Pride Month. And to kick off the celebration of our LGBTQIA plus brothers, sisters, allies, and non-binary community members, we will start off with an explosive beginning on a lake involving someone's boat. On Tuesday, there was a viral story making the rounds on Twitter and TikTok in which 3 boaters who were harassing a family sailing with the gay pride flag on Moses Lake, Washington. Now, the Twitter user, Retro Ushi, who identifies as trans and queer, told the story on social media and said that these people had harassed my family because we were flying a gay pride flag in Moses Lake by racing around us and shouting gay slurs at us. Now, of course, what happened? Well, maybe it was, gay space lasers. I don't know, but their boat exploded. In fact, Sarah Morris, reporting for Newsweek, said their boat literally blew up. Hashtag karma is real. Let me show you. Oh, that's tragic. And now look, I can laugh because nobody was actually injured from the explosion. Yeah, and that's good. I don't want people that are injured. I don't want people that were hurt. However, there was one casualty, and that was the shorts of the driver, who apparently crapped his pants. Because of course. In fact, Retro Ushi said, the driver literally shit his pants and everyone saw it when his shorts fell off in the water. Oops. Yes! By the way, I couldn't love this story more, but it gets better. In fact, according to Retro Ushi, the most likely cause of the fire is that, quote, they were driving around us so roughly they either damaged their carburetor or took in water and stalled, then fumes built up, and when they tried to speed away, the fumes ignited. Fun. It's so good. So the whole reason their boat blew up is because they were racing around, taunting people, flying a gay pride flag on their boat. That was it. They couldn't help but be bigoted assholes, and they got the karma. So yeah, they got made fun of on social media, by the way. I want to share a couple of tweets here. One person says, to fuck around is human. To find out is divine. Another person says, and God said, fuck y'all haters. Pride beam. And then proceeded to destroy their boat. And he set it aflame. And it was good. Yes, indeed. Another person says, brilliant sailing, Admiral. You employed the same tactics used at the Battle of Lake Travis. Remember, Lake Travis is when all those Trump supporters ended up sinking each other's boats. Another person says, wow, who knew that homophobia would be super flammable? Who knew? Who knew? And then another person says, this is completely unironically one of the funniest, most vindicating things I've seen in my life. You gotta love that irony. Couldn't have happened to nicer people. And by the way, those same people who were being harassed did offer to help. And so it kind of shows you that love tends to beat out hate. And that's it's kind of a feel good when you think about it. All right. There you go. Karma is indeed swift. Jesus took the wheel and blew them up. True. All right. Well, let's move on. A member of the Proud Boys who was wielding an axe handle during the U.S. Capitol insurrection wants to be released from jail so that he can keep collecting government checks. Yep, you heard me right. Guy who rebelled against the government kind of wants his government money. Speaking of irony. Now, the attorney from William Crestman had filed a motion last Wednesday in district court arguing that the U.S. Army veteran had posed no safety risk and asked for his release due to health issues and to continue receiving veterans benefits his family needs. Now, Crestman had been again seen wielding an axe handle at police. In fact, however, his lawyer says his current detention status places him in danger of losing those significant benefits. The residence he shares with his common law partner and their 6 children is in danger of foreclosure, placing the whole nuclear family in jeopardy of homelessness. Man, if there was only some way that we could do something about homelessness. Like, I don't know, make sure that people have homes. Oh, but that's socialism. But this guy wanting his government check, not socialism, of course. Now, the 40-year-old Crestman does suffer from long-term chronic back pain from a workplace accident, and he wasn't receiving proper pain medication in jail, according to the motion. And he also wasn't being treated for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, major depressive disorder, and insomnia. So apparently this guy's got some issues, none of which explain at all why he tried to, overthrow the government on behalf of Donald Trump. I'm just saying. Now, his attorney argues, we are confident the court can form a release plan involving some form of monitoring, such that Mr. Cressman is able to address his pressing personal health concerns at the same time as allowing his actions to be monitored appropriately. Cressman was indicted February 26 along with fellow Kansas City Proud Boys members Christopher Kuhn, Ryan Keith, and siblings Corey and Felicia Conold. The unemployed union sheet metal worker was charged with conspiracy, threatening to assault a federal law enforcement officer, and carrying a wooden axe handle at the Capitol. And its co-defendants had all been released on personal reconnaissance bond pending trial. Now, this guy was also going to be released. However, a federal judge reversed a Kansas judge's decision to release Cressman and ordered him held without bond until trial after prosecutors argued that he had played a key role in the insurrection. Classmates back in Oxnard, California, where Cressman grew up, reported him to the FBI after videos of him carrying an axe during the riot, and they say he became radicalized in recent years through YouTube videos involving QAnon conspiracy theories and other right-wing content. He talked about our civil liberties being stripped from us little by little and fearing that the banking system would get shut down and we're going to get thrown in FEMA camps and, pay attention to this, and a socialist society, one former classmate said. So this guy's real worried about socialism taking over. Now he wants out of jail so that he can continue to get government checks. Fascinating. Interesting, huh? Yeah. I mean, does he not realize that these checks that he's getting are a form of what he would consider to be socialism, right? Just, I mean, again, it's the government, and I don't know, maybe I guess that maybe I'm a bad person for thinking that maybe if you try to overthrow the government, you shouldn't be given money by that same government. I'm just saying. I mean, whatever the bootstraps, right? The site that this guy's on, look, I bet $1,000 this man has no idea what he means by socialism. None whatsoever. You know what socialism is? It's democracy in the workplace and in our politics, by the way. Workers' rights, generous welfare state, free healthcare, paid for by taxes, taxes on the wealthy mainly, and so on. No FEMA camps, nothing like that. Just human dignity and democracy in the workplace and in the marketplace of ideas. That's it. But see, understand that this guy, and I know some of you are saying, no, socialism for them is money given to poor black people. Yeah, that is pretty much what they think. Oh, no. The socialism that I'm against is poor people other than me getting money. Whereas actual socialism, yes, is workers owning the means of production, which means, again, democracy in the workplace. Instead of having an all-towering, CEO, you instead share the ownership and responsibilities with your fellow workers. That's what the socialism actually is. But yes, it doesn't have anything to do with FEMA camps. Doesn't have anything to do with that. But again, this guy went on YouTube, got radicalized, and was basically fed a diet of nonstop fear. In fact, this friend said every day this guy was falling, every day there was something to be afraid of. The majority of things that were predicted didn't happen, but if they did happen, or something similar, said, see, told you, I knew it was going to happen. I knew it. Now, his friend also added, to the core, he's not a bad person. He just has a lot of fears that this country is being led in the wrong direction. I wonder who is leading the country in the wrong direction. Oh, right. The right wing. Again, so far, they had their chance with Donald Trump. 500,000 Americans died as a result of COVID-19. And by the way, neoliberalism is a right-wing conservative construct. free market economics, pro-imperialism. Those are the problems that are facing America right now. When you kind of break it down, all right? We would actually be better off with more democracy at home, in our politics, and in the workplace. Again, I can point to many social democracies in Europe that even though have problems because no system is perfect, but at the end of the day, they're happier, healthier, safer than we are. Obviously, they have more political choices, as some of you point out. More than just one or two single parties, but parliamentary systems. There's a lot of things that we can improve on in the United States. We should maybe move in that direction instead of where the hell the QAnoners and the right wing, the far right, are trying to take us. Because that road ends up very poorly. All right. Moving on. Just like that interview I saw last year with the Trump person declaring that he wanted to see the ACA or Obamacare repealed because, but thought the Affordable Care Act was the same thing. Oh yeah, look, they did that in Kentucky, Joe. We're like, oh no, I love, I love the ACA, but I hate that Obamacare. Need to get rid of that. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. And wait till you realize that the Medicare that you like is also part of the government and also something that the left, progressives, the socialists are trying to bring you and to bring everyone. Yeah. All right. Anyway, let's go to Kenny Clips. Another fun story. Oh, this is one of my favorite stories of the day. Intercept reporter Ken Klippenstein is starting to become a bit of a living legend for his antics on Twitter. And not only that, but of course, writing scathing articles, detailed exposés on corruption, and also, as I mentioned, trolling the hell out of the right wing. Not only the right wing, but of course centrists as well, but mainly the right wing. All right, so now the latest trolling attempt actually ended up ensnaring Matt Gaetz. Now, Matt Gaetz is currently facing allegations of sex trafficking a minor. Now, the case against Gaetz, by the way, is heating up ever since, of course, his buddy Joel Greenberg flipped on him to federal agents. Now, that said, Ken, in pure Klippenstein style, trolled him with this image. You can see. Oh, my grandpa's a big fan of yours. He's a veteran. He would be thrilled if you could RT this for Memorial Day. Here he is as a young private, first class. And by the way, he changed his name, notice, from Ken to Matt Gaetz is a pedo. Oh, simple, yet effective. But the best part of that troll was the veteran in the picture, who is Lee Harvey Oswald. You know, the guy that killed JFK. Not only that, but Gaetz is not the only person that fell for this. In fact, it's fantastic. More. You've got, of course, Matt Schlapp, which is fun. And then, adding on to that, Dinesh D'Souza, also doing a little retweet action. So many dipshits are falling for it. It's so great. They really, really do make it easy. Not only that, but of course, he's done this before. He's kind of perfected the art of the troll. Back in 2019, he tricked Representative Steve King into wishing a happy Independence Day to his quote-unquote uncle, fictional Marine Colonel Nathan Jessup from A Few Good Men. And then changed his Twitter name to Steve King is a white supremacist so that it would show up, same that he did with Matt Gaetz. And in 2020, last year, he fooled the former acting director of national intelligence, Richard Grenell, into bidding a happy Veterans Day to Bill Calley, the war criminal behind the My Lai massacre. These guys are such idiots. Do they not do any sort of research before they look into these people? And again, Ken's an expert at trolling these guys because he'll, try to make his Twitter account look as right-wing as possible. Innocuous. And then post these things and it keeps working every single time because they don't know. They don't look into it. They're just like, patriotic American, retweet, American flag, freedom. Now, the best, of course, is yet to come because now we are going to go and talk about Candace Owens. She decided to enter the fray, and it's fantastic. So here she is. She caught on to this, kind of. All right. So here's what she said. You're making a mockery of a day that is meant to memorialize men that died so that you and other anti-American leftists can laugh at their sacrifices by photoshopping a murderer into their uniforms. You are deranged, as is any person applauding your efforts. Photoshop. Who's going to tell her? That's no Photoshop, y'all. That is the real deal. Hey, it turns out that, yes, Lee Harvey Oswald was a Marine veteran. And it also turns out that veterans can do some pretty messed up things. Now, look, of course, it's just like anybody. And so I'm not singling out veterans, of course. In fact, mental health issues, though, are something that affect veterans quite a bit, PTSD being one of them. And of course, unfortunately, what we've seen, in a lot of veterans in America is many of them going right wing. Obviously, not all of them. I actually know quite a few leftist veterans. Left Flank Vets, for example, is a great channel on Twitch. I would check them out. And so, I'm not trying to broad brush them, but understand that, yeah, there is a right wing problem in the military. There's also a right wing problem in, for example, the police. So, yeah. But Candace Owens doesn't know her history. She doesn't know who any of these people actually are. And that's, of course, why doing research, fact-checking is kind of important. I mean, if you consider yourself to be a quote-unquote conservative thinker who is very, very pro-veteran, then you might know that and understand that I don't expect most people to know. But if you are somebody who considers yourself an expert on veterans issues or an expert on whatever, right, politically, then you might at least try to do some research before you do retweeting, especially when you're a public figure. And now, obviously, after fucking around and then finding out, Candace Owens deletes the tweet, but not before this fun exchange, again, with Ken Klippenstein. So now, hold on. Let me see if that's the right one. Oh, yes. By the way, here's what he said. Would not have guessed that you cared so much about being politically correct. To which she responded, it's not political correctness to have a soul and a modicum of decency. Reminder, these men died, the majority of them on foreign soil, so that you could be free. You did not Photoshop murderers into their uniforms so you can have a laugh. Again, she has no idea. No idea whatsoever. Yeah, they're not sending their best, for sure. So now, here's the thing. Our military, let's be honest, right now they're not protecting freedom. They're doing an imperialism. And don't get me wrong, this ain't the troops' fault, okay? I think that they're having to be victimized by imperialism just as much as, well, maybe not just as much as the other victims of imperialism, but they're also victimized as well. Right now, this country has turned voluntary military service into what is essentially a jobs program for low-income Americans. And at the cost, and it's probably designed by that, that way because there's no draft. Okay, so they need to entice people somehow. So they'll offer job training, they'll offer money for college. If you're an 18-year-old kid, and you grow up in a poor area and you want to get out of that area, the military can seem like a viable career path. But at the cost of, in many cases, having to do imperialism, having to bomb brown people for oil, innocent people in a lot of cases. And I suspect that's not what a lot of people signed up for when it came to the military. And usually they signed up in order to pay for college, to escape those situations, or even in response to 9/11. There was Pat Tillman, of course, who ended up, dying in Iraq. And, signing up for what he believed were the right reasons and then realizing that they were the wrong reasons. And so, and by the way, it's not as if the military hasn't done things like humanitarian aid. Of course they do. But the imperial stuff is huge and problematic. And I think if we really wanted to help veterans, we would stop creating more of them. And the ones we have, making sure that we take care of them. And for fuck's sake, stop using them as props to your campaigns. But understand that politicians, and this happens mainly on the right, they only care about the troops and about the vets in order to exploit them for political gain. It's this weird, kind of rah, like, oh, we support the troops or pro-troop, whatever, when in reality, you're not. And I say that because anytime that there's something that's there to help veterans, that would actually make the difference in the lives of veterans. Not only that, but to avoid creating more veterans, they always seem to be against it. They're incredibly pro-militaristic, pro-war, pro-imperialism, and all of that is anti-troop. They actually end up making more veterans with even more fucked up, problems when they're gone, all for corporate profit, essentially. Democrats, by the way, are complicit in this. And so don't think that it's all a right-wing problem. Democrats are complicit in imperialism as well. We kind of all are. Whether we want to or not, it's the country that we live in. And that needs to change. Yes, free education for all would make a difference. Free healthcare for all would also make an incredible difference. And again, I don't want to do that because it would stop that pipeline, essentially. People needing an education, joining the military. So, yeah. But anyway, getting back to the non-serious issue after my little diatribe, Candace Owens, following this thorough embarrassment given to her by Kenny Clips, she decided the free speech, the defender of free speech, the uncancelable anti-cancel culture warrior, decided that she was going to cancel Ken Klippenstein by blocking him. Because of course. And I don't have that image. He's blocked on Twitter. Because of course. What a clown. What a grifter. Absolute terrible person. Once again, thank you, Kenny Clips, for making these people show us who they really are through the art, the wonderful art of the troll. Just notice the thumbnail for the live stream showing Candace Owens' recent tweet. The hypocrisy, psychological projection, and the pot calling the kettle black is so lost and strong with her. True. Cancel culture. Yes, cancel culture. Veggie, I actually did. I've got those graphics. I'm just working on a way to integrate them. God, it's such a fantastic segment, though. One of my favorites. Anyone tell Candace that it's not Photoshop? I believe they did, and that's why she deleted her original tweet. They're so easy. They're so easy to troll. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a real quick break here. I'm going to come back. We've got a poll that I wanted to go over from last week on QAnon. So, again, I talk about QAnon all the time, conspiracy theories, and this is not good news. This is bad news. So be prepared. Not fun. And then what are the Democrats going to do in the midterms? And what do I think about it? Well, you know, we'll see. We'll talk about it. Stay right here. Around the Nation.
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
Amazing. Wait, you're getting nervous, man.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Waldorf Nation. Waldorf here. All right, so before I go into the next couple of stories here, I want to read some super chats from y'all. Been incredibly kind today. So I want to give y'all a shout out here. LL says, dude needs to be stripped of all of his military benefits, commits treason, mutiny or sabotage, or assist the enemy of the United States. He forfeits his right to veterans' benefits, including disability benefits. True. Monty Darno says, glad you're feeling better. Currently headshotting my way through ME2. Enjoy the remaster. You too. It's fun. Enjoying it. Hey, glad to see you, Sunshine and Sunshine Drea. Glad to see you here. That's not funny. Says, I love the show. Thanks. Oh, thank you. I do appreciate that. You are all the reason that I can do this for a living. Dead Pirate Tattoo says, hit the like button. The content is worth your help. Well, thank you. I really, really appreciate that. You are so incredibly kind. And I really, really appreciate that. Let's see. Anything else? Nope. Let's move on. Let's go to the QAnon stuff. It's a recent survey that kind of shows how screwed we are as a country. It appears that more than 1 in 5 Americans believes in QAnon. So now, some of you might still, I don't know if you've been living under a rock, but you might not know what QAnon is. And some of you might have heard of QAnon, but you might not, know what exactly that means. Well, QAnon, simply put, is a conspiracy theory that there is a Satan-worshipping pedophile ring in charge of our government, specifically the Democratic Party, and that Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump, was one of the only few that was fighting against it. Now, again, 1 in 5 Americans believe that. And by the way, that same Satan worshiping pedophile ring is also allegedly scaring children in order to drink their brain juice called adrenochrome. And so that's the other thing that they're allegedly doing as well. And so 1 in 5 Americans believes in insanity. Wow. So now this is according to that survey from the Public Religion Research Institute. You have probably seen this. It's not necessarily new. It actually came out last week, but I really wanted to talk about it because of the implications. And of course, the breakdown of who believes this stuff and why. Now, you are not going to be surprised to find out that the biggest predictor of whether or not you believe in this insanity is watching right-wing media. Like, conservative YouTube channels, conservative, blogs, and other media. Okay? So now the survey of 5,149 adults living across the U.S., released last Thursday, finds a strong correlation between consuming right-wing media sources and accepting conspiracy theories such as QAnon. Americans who say they consume far-right news sources reported the highest rates of conspiracy theory acceptance, close to half, so they believe in the tenets of QAnon. The survey defined outlets such as Newsmax, One American News Network, or OANN as far-right. It's true. Now, there's an interesting question to this that I think is attached, and I don't think a lot of people are asking this. What came first? Did the networks initially spread QAnon? Or, it came up from, I guess, the fever swamps of like 8chan or 4chan, whatever. And then what? Is the fact that it was getting spread around right-wing media by influencers the reason that people picked up on it? Or are the news outlets reacting to something that the people already believed? That's like the question. And that the people, people in Newsmax, whatever, OANN, are just now parroting the conspiracy theory for like clicks. I mean, it's curious. Now, you're not going to, of course, be surprised at who's susceptible to this. Again, right-wing media sources. Well, who consumes right-wing media? A lot of white evangelicals, turns out. But not only that, but you have Hispanic Protestants that were the most susceptible to QAnon conspiracies. So obviously, religion is a very important part of what, of a predictor of whether or not you're going to believe in these crazy conspiracies. And about 1 in 4 respondents from those religious groups said they believe the government, the media, and financial worlds in the U.S. are controlled by a group of Satan-worshipping pedophiles who run a global child sex trafficking operation. That is notably higher than the 15% of black Protestants, as well as 15% of Americans overall, who agreed with that statement. At 8%, Jewish Americans were the religious group least likely to say that they agree. And there's probably a reason for that. Jewish people happen to be the recipients, the targets of many of these conspiracy theories. Now, you'll also not be surprised that people who are not exposed to a post-secondary education were also more likely to be QAnon. So basically people without college degrees. In fact, people without those degrees responded to the survey were 3 times more likely to believe in just general conspiracy theories than Americans who had completed college. Now, why is that? I think honestly, it's because college is about exposure to different people and new ways of thinking, as well as instructing people on how to be better critical thinkers. I mean, if you just did your 4 years of high school, you're not exactly shown how to think critically, to separate factual information from false information, or to see the signs of disinformation. This doesn't mean that you can't do that, that you're incapable or you're stupid. No. Like, you can be an incredibly smart person and go to college and still graduate and be a dipshit. It just shows, this survey shows that it's much more likely that if you don't have those skills, that you're obviously going to be more susceptible to insane conspiracy. Okay? And again, and it's a lot of these different factors combined. You know, if you don't have that education or those critical thinking abilities, and you're a religious person, and you're a right winger, and you're a white evangelical, you're much more likely to be somebody who is a believer in these, you know, that the Democrats are cracking open kids' heads and drinking their brain juice after scaring the crap out of them. So that's, I mean, that is who is more susceptible here. And again, I'm generalizing a bit here. For me personally, yeah, I think going to school kind of opened me up to questioning more authoritative sources and institutions. Although I've kind of questioned authoritative institutions my whole life. Anybody who knew me in high school, they would say that was a little bit different. Now, a couple more devastating things. A full 20% of respondents agreed with this statement. Quote, "There is a storm coming soon that will sweep away the elites in power and restore the rightful leaders." Who are these rightful leaders that they're talking about? Well, you talk to Republicans, 50% of them are going to say, obviously, Donald Trump. And that's kind of scary because Donald Trump is now also talking about being reinstalled into power in August at the end of the summer. And 15% of respondents agreed with that. They say that because things have gotten so far off track, true American patriots may have to resort to violence in order to, quote unquote, save our country. That is coming from a group of people who are heavily armed and also, again, believe without any evidence, because you don't need evidence for conspiracies, that America is run by a group of satanic pedophiles. I mean, this really shows you that the propaganda works. I mean, they reach people through channels you wouldn't believe. Like, for example, innocuous, like mommy groups on Facebook. Facebook is a huge recruiting tool. And before you know it, of course, bam, you're into anti-vax conspiracies, you're into just right-wing general nonsense. But it gets worse because that rabbit hole leads you to more and more extreme content and extreme ideas. And of course, YouTube is pretty bad at pushing people towards right-wing extremist content through their algorithms, their automated, systems that will begin recommending content. And so you end up, with your race realists, your anti-SJW YouTubers, your anti-feminists, and soon you get pushed down the QAnon pipeline. And then you always end up at anti-Semitism. Because at the end of the road, they always go to anti-Semitism. So it's really a big pervasive problem among the right. We're not talking about like differences in, I believe the government, should have a little bit lesser of a regulatory role upon our businesses and slightly slower tax rates for corporations. Yes, I think that will help job growth in businesses. No, we're not talking about that because we can have some real conversations. We can have some real differences on that. No, that's not what the right wing is saying. The right wing is saying, I hate you because you're part of a pedophilic cult that eats children and babies, and therefore you are a literal spawn of Satan. Like, you can't have a conversation with those people. You can't work with those people. They're not going to want to work with you, and you're not going to want to work with them, and you're not going to want to improve the country, make the country better. In fact, I mean, they're really close to being violent, and that's a problem. And so, again, it's a really big, pervasive problem. And the part that I feel, and part of that, of course, I feel is the fault of the media, mainstream media, for example. There's a big distrust in media for good reason. And the far right has been able to capitalize on that, literally for, clicks and ad revenue and recruitment. And of course, that is the nature of capitalism. And by the way, the things that are popular on YouTube, for example, is rage bait. You got people out there that just make, do content that ensures that their audience is constantly angry. And of course, you get that, like, you get those segments like college student destroyed with facts and logic, or the government's coming after you, they're doing this and this and that. And at the end of the day, I mean, yes, conspiracies a lot of times do have a kernel of truth in them, but then you surround it with lies and bullshit in order to really get people angry and riled up. They get the shot of dopamine and a community to rage with, and they keep coming back. And so that is a capitalist incentive to continue to lie to people. And not only that, but you also have an entertainment factor. You got people like Alex Jones. Alex Jones is a clown. He's an absolutely clownish individual. Okay?
You're full of shit!
I know, Alex. Definitely.
I'm sick of all these witches and warlocks.
And so you've got that, and understand, like, Alex Jones is a pretty entertaining guy. He's batshit, but he's entertaining as hell. And so people will want to listen to him. And then pretty soon, people tend to start believing them. And I mean, again, Donald Trump's a charismatic person. There's a reason people gave him a TV show, would spend an hour or hours listening to him rant at the podium for no reason. And so there is also that. I mean, charisma plays in entertainment plays a pretty large part in drawing people into conspiracies and crazy ideas. So there are a lot of different reasons, a lot of different ways that people end up falling into this complete and utter insanity. Now, the real question, of course, and the question I can't answer, is how do you pull them out? And can you pull them out? I think you can some. You can't save them all. But of course, you need to try to bring them back to the land of the living, where people can see logic and facts and aren't living in a fantasy land. And worse, being ready for violence in that fantasy land. And so, yes, I know we can't save them all, but for God's sakes, we got to try. One in 5 Americans believing in this complete and utter nonsense. You got to try to pull them back to reality, so we can move forward as a country and do so together. It's the same for people following or subbing to people on Twitch. It's the same everywhere. There's a reason I only have 162,000 subs, as opposed to content creators who have been around not nearly as long as I have, and have way, way more subs. I mean, you look on the right, you also look on the left. The people who are trying to make the most sense and trying to be as fair and as possible, we don't really get those audiences because we don't have either we're not entertaining, which I'm not, or I don't get everyone angry. What do? You just got to do what you got to do, and do the best that you can. Because at the end of the day, I do want y'all to learn something, and I do want to make a positive impact. I wish other people had the same motivation. Okay. You're right, I don't lose my mind on here. I try not to. Although I'm a pretty naturally calm person. It is funny. I mean, I think I had somebody in like a comment section or whatever, anywhere, like somewhere, I should say, telling me about, oh, you must be a very angry person. You must be very upset. I was like, or miserable. That's what it is, miserable. I'm like, no, I'm actually a pretty happy person. I mean, I just, what I want to do is, I want to try to make the world better off than where I left it. And this is really only the way that I know how. So, and thank you for all the kind words, by the way. I do appreciate that. All right. One more story here. Democratic strategists are starting to look into how to protect the majority in the 2022 midterms. So now I say majority, but in reality, I mean, it's too close. We got a 50-50 split, and Democrats that aren't exactly acting like we think they should. And by we, I mean those of us on the left. Now, according to a report from Politico, there seems to be a debate within the Democratic Party over strategy over the 2022 midterm election. So now their choices run on policy or Donald Trump. Well, I mean, I'm going to tell you what I think we should do, but let me read from the article. According to one Democrat, Donald Trump may help them with their decision by continuing to keep himself front and center as the face of the party, doing their work for them, and constantly reminding voters of the reason he lost re-election in 2020. Something tells me that, of course, they don't quite understand the reason that he lost in 2020. I believe that it was mainly as a result of his response to coronavirus. COVID-19 wrecked Donald Trump's campaign. Again, he wasn't able to go out and do a lot of his rallies, not without creating gigantic super spreader events. But again, his handling, his downplaying, as hundreds of thousands of people ended up dying across the country as a result of COVID-19. I mean, that right there cemented it in people's minds. His ignorance was dangerous and is dangerous for the country. I said before, when he got elected, God forbid, if you believe in that, I don't, but God forbid, if he ever has a real crisis. And then we found out we ended up having a real crisis, something that was so incredibly mismanaged that it ended up leading to 500,000 people dying from a virus. And so, yeah, that's the reason that he lost. Big reason. It wasn't anything else. Again, it wasn't the racism. It wasn't the sexism. It wasn't the xenophobia. It wasn't any of that. It wasn't the stupid tweets, the stuff that he said. Again, that stuff endeared him to people, believe it or not. And so, especially for members of the right, it got them fired up, and they were really interested in following him and voting for him. And so, anyway, that said, there are Democrats in districts they say could flip back to Republicans should the party fire up Trump's rabid base with attacks on the one-term ex-president. So now this is, again, what Politico is saying. This is Melania Zanona and Sarah Ferris writing this article. Quote, with their fragile House majority in the line, many Democrats are employing their colleagues not to take the Trump bait after last November's referendum on the ex-president ended up costing their party a dozen seats. So now, wait a minute. The Democrats are saying, you've got Democrats out there saying, no, let's not talk about Trump. Let's talk about something else. Well, goddamn. If this is true, wonderful. Now, those Democrats, they write, are eager to deploy a policy-heavy playbook to help stave off a potential midterm whipping and are careful to avoid putting Trumpism on the ballot next November, too. So now, again, they're doing this because they're afraid of Trump's base. Okay, look, I don't really give a damn about your reason, because if you're going to focus on policy, wonderful. Yes. Policy matters. And of course, messaging, how do you message that policy matters as well. Like, for example, how's this going to help you? How's this going to help your family? How's this going to make your life better? What can we do? And I'm going to give you some stats here later on. But yes, as far as policy goes, look, Democrats, they're milquetoast on policy, on a lot of the stuff that they're talking about. Well, not necessarily what they're talking about, but what they're trying to actually do. And let me give you an example of that. So Joe Biden ran on a public option. And I think a public option is good. Medicare for all is obviously superior. That is where we need to go, 100%. However, we're not even talking about the public option anymore. What we're talking about is tweaks to Obamacare. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to milquetoast. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. Making the big promises. And even those promises aren't huge. A public option is something that we should have had for a long time. We should have had from all the way back during the discussion about the ACA, where there was a Democratic supermajority. And so, despite that, though, out of the two parties, obviously the Democrats have the better policies. Why? Because Republicans, tax cuts for the rich, deregulation, more military spending. Again, with the Democrats, you get, you still end up getting some deregulation, especially when it comes to the banks. Yes, tax cuts, which tend to more include the middle class. But then, also more military spending. And so economically, they really need to do a lot better on the Democratic side to differentiate themselves from Republicans on some of those basic economic issues. Social issues is where there seems to be the greatest distance between Republicans and Democrats. That said, messaging. I want to talk about messaging. Democrats suck at messaging. But when they made the message, not about Trump, but about policy positions, they actually did well in 2018. So there, yeah. Now, if you're going to go, here's what I want to do for you, here's how we're going to get it done, I'm on board. All right, let's do it. Wonderful. But that gets to the thorny problem. If you actually want to do it. And we're not exactly, on the leftists, we're not convinced Democrats want to do some of these big things. Right now, let me give you an example. We have a chance to cancel student loan debt. Joe Biden can do it unilaterally. With a stroke of a pen, Joe Biden can cancel any amount of student debt he wants to. He can cancel 10,000, he can cancel 50,000, he can cancel the whole damn enchilada. He could do it right now. Just tell his Secretary of Education, cancel all that debt. Gone. Congress, by the way, could also do something when it comes to the price of prescription drugs. Could also do something when it comes to healthcare. Now, of course, that's not unilateral. There is, you'd have to go through Congress, and that has, well, there are some problems there. Okay, there's some problems there. But the thing is, and what I want to mention prescription drugs and healthcare is because, according to polls, that's the number one issue facing Americans today. That is the one thing that most Americans, an overwhelming majority, want Congress to do something about. So now, I think it's kind of a no-brainer to come up with a piece of legislation, for example, a Bernie Sanders bill that he's brought up plenty of times in the Senate, to allow people to at least go and get import cheaper drugs from Canada, and to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices with pharmaceutical companies. I think that would be a beginning. Obviously, the real solution to this is Medicare for all. So you would have the full power of the government being able to, as the only provider of health insurance, to be able to negotiate for cheaper prices. Unfortunately, they're not doing any of that. And so, yeah, as far as Republicans, okay, so here's what I would do if I were Democrats and actually cared, right? So, all right, do something on prescription drugs, all right? You bring that up to a vote, and then let Republicans kill it. Well, now, wait a minute. What do you mean let Republicans kill it? Well, because Republicans will. And then what you have to do is you have to put Republicans on the record for killing a bill and let them explain to their voters why insulin is still $1,200 for a month's supply. Again, no riders, just like, hey, negotiate for prices on prescription drugs. Let people import it from Canada, someplace cheaper. Simple as that. You don't have to add anything, poison pills, nothing to that, ironic poison pills, to that bill. And then let Republicans explain why they killed it. And while they're doing that, you explain how Republicans are beholden to their donors in the pharmaceutical industry and that we need people who aren't bought and paid for. And now I realize, of course, that the pharmaceutical companies and why this isn't going to happen, there's a lot of donors that, or I should say there's a lot of Democrats that get a lot of donations from these same pharmaceutical companies. But hey, if they were to take this strategy and actually, I don't know, ignore the donors for once, you might actually keep winning. But yeah, that's one part of the discussion. The other part, of course, is no, let's focus on Trump. Let's focus on January 6th because of the commission. They voted against the commission. Again, super obvious thing for Republicans to do, because if you didn't notice, Republicans are anti-democracy. It's not hard to figure it out when you see all the stuff that they do. They despise democracy. But so far in this discussion, the let him hang himself crowd is pretty well represented. The let Trump do what he's going to do. Let's not focus on him. Let's not care about him. Let's focus on talking about policy. In fact, here's one representative, Stephanie Murray, who faces a tough re-election fight in Florida, where Trump is popular. She would rather the Democratic Party not attack Trump. Quote, the former president is now a private citizen, and it appears our justice system is handling whatever potential misdeeds he may or may not have committed. Trump is a Republican problem and a Republican cancer that they need to cut out of their party, but that's their problem. Oh, I would say that Donald Trump is the Republican Party, and the Republican Party is more akin to the cancer, but I get it. I get it. Okay, that's not an unreasonable point of view. Representative Madeline Dean also noted that Trump will likely remain in the news due to his legal problems, allowing Democrats to let the news cycle do their work for them, and allowing them to focus on pummeling their Republican opponents instead, which again, I hope includes policy positions. Senator Ben Ray Lujan, I'm probably saying his name wrong, a Democrat of New Mexico, who was the architect of the Democrats' House takeover in 2018, that was focused on the threat of healthcare and less on the now ex-president, says Trump may do their dirty work for them. Even when President Trump was president, people got tired of hearing about him. He explained before noting the one-term president can be his own worst enemy. Quote, Trump puts his foot in his mouth more than anybody else. Let him do the talking. People are going to see him for what he is. Yeah, look, I get it. Let Trump be Trump. Basically give him the rope and let him hang himself while you go out and talk about, policy positions. Wonderful. Okay, yeah, let's do that. Now, it is fun. The aside thing is that it is kind of weird that they're like, well, we know the media is going to attack Donald Trump, and so we're just going to let the media do our job. That's a little weird. And the reason I say that, because imagine if that was the same situation with, for example, you had a Democrat, Bernie Sanders, for example. Oh, wait, this doesn't even have to be an example because it's already happened, where you had the entire media establishment attacking Bernie Sanders. And so it is a bit of a problem here. So, yeah, just saying, it makes me a little uncomfortable. Let's just say that. That said, all right. If you're going to do, though, if you're just going to focus on policy, that's great. Making it all about Trump is not going to win the midterms. And it is actually nice to see that some Democrats in power are actually, starting to realize that. Because that's how you win. We should be focused on infrastructure. We should be focused on healthcare. We should be focused on canceling student debt. We should be focused really on climate change. Because if you thought COVID-19 was bad, and it was, oh, wait till you get a load of climate change. That's going to rock our shit. Supreme Court, like packing the Supreme Court, term limits, getting out of these, wars, stopping the imperialism, all this different stuff. We have a lot of things that we need to talk about as a country. We should probably ignore talking about Trump as a politician. So, and that's, again, and you could just even go back to campaign promises Joe Biden has already made, right? That he's not following through on. But also realize, by the way, that is a component that they're missing. It's about what they've done and what they have failed to do. They did a decent job on COVID-19, I think, the Biden administration. I think the aid could have been, to people, it could have been a lot more. We were promised $2,000 checks, recurring. Not even recurring. We should have had $2,000 checks recurring until the end of the pandemic. We had one $1,400 check and unemployment benefits. Come on. It could have been a lot more. And there was that lie involved. But again, as far as getting the trains running, the Biden administration has been fairly competent, unlike, of course, the Trump administration. But on other issues, Democrats are refusing to eliminate the filibuster in order to actually enact other things. And there are two main holdouts. You got Joe Manchin and you got Kyrsten Sinema. Now, Joe Manchin is playing this, we need to be more bipartisan. We need to have Republicans to have a seat at the table. So, we could do things in a bipartisan way. It's better for the country. Nope. Not at all. No. Again, this guy, he's either a closet Republican, which I think he is, or he's so incredibly, deeply naive. He's not going to get anything done. And as a result, they're probably going to sink the Democratic Party. Now, hopefully, as more Democrats come around to the idea, especially after Republicans blocked the January 6th commission, that there are enough Democrats to bully Joe Manchin, but I don't think that's going to happen. Honestly, what I do know is that if he continues not to budge, the slim majority that the Democrats have, it's going to evaporate. It's gone. And likely the decision, by the way, whether or not to focus on policy or Donald Trump for the midterms will also be made for them. If Joe Manchin doesn't move, and he says, no, I'm not going to blow up the filibuster, then all the Democrats from now up until the midterms, Trump. And that's it. No policy discussions, because if they do that, they're backed into a corner because they haven't done anything, because we haven't got, a public option. We don't have a student loan debt relief. We don't have any of those things. And who are the voters going to blame? Well, Democrats, obviously, for not getting things done. So that's going to be a bloodbath, an absolute bloodbath. Say goodbye to the majority, which means, by the way, absolutely no chance of getting anything done, as opposed to there being at least a small chance, small as it is right now. So none of this is going to mean anything unless you bully Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema and obliterate the filibuster. And until I see Biden and top Democratic leadership urging that and doing that and punishing Manchin by, doing the nuclear option, by the way, not funding his campaign for re-election through DNC money. Until I see any of that, any real action against him, nothing's going to happen, and I will forever remain a complete and utter pessimist. So, there's that. Just talk Joe to Joe to Joe. All right. Hey, Left Leg Vets, thank you for the very, very kind raid of, holy crap, 188. So what we're talking about is the Democrats. Unfortunately, you all missed most of the show, but we are going to raid in to someone else. So stay here. I want to raid into, let's see. We have got KF Logan, 1875, Aristocracy, or Nicole Sandler Show. So we could do that. But thank you for all of you who have stopped by and have followed the channel. And some of you have. Let's see. Yes, thank you for the follows. Thank you, Northern Ice Dragon, for the 100 biddies. Thank you for the 6 months at tier 1, Sunshine Drea. Much appreciated. Tempedan 918, thank you for the tier 2 community subs. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Let's see. Yes, raid train. Let's do it. Remember Eve? When Eve fart low, we fart high. Yes. True. Absolutely true. All right. Let's raid into Camp Logan. Need some help there. Based. So apparently he's talking about Return to Crab. So hey, all right. To everyone else, thank you for dropping by. Thank you for the incredibly kind donations. Watching today's show with me. Do a show every day, 4 p.m. Eastern, right here, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, all that wonderful stuff. Thank you all. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Like a shark, NATO, except with poop.
There's insanity in the control room.
Who's got a hammer? Mike Pounds.
Wet ass keyword.
Please clap. They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.